Welcome to Delta History, where the battlefield speaks and the truth cuts through the fog of war. Tonight, we bring you not just a story, but a chilling reminder of how quickly the tide of battle can turn when patience, preparation, and precision align into a single, devastating moment of overwhelming force. This is the night North Korea's tank convoy, a formation of armored might that had traveled thousands of miles under the cloak of secrecy, crossed into Ukrainian territory, only to be obliterated before it could fire a single shot. The events you are about to witness reveal not merely the chaos and brutality of modern warfare, but the unseen, calculated hands of intelligence and strategy shaping the outcome long before the first explosion tore through the night sky. Intelligence. Traces in the shadows. It began not with the roar of artillery or the grinding of tank treads, but with whispers, faint signals hinting at something moving far away. In a dimly lit room, illuminated only by the glow of computer screens, intelligence operators studied the incoming data. Fragments of intercepted radio chatter, grainy satellite photographs concealing patterns within the blur, and encrypted messages slipping silently across military communication lines. Experienced analysts began noticing something unusual in Russia's Far East. Long freight trains moving slowly through isolated terrain, each carrying a payload that could not be disguised by tarps or paint, tanks. The silhouettes resting atop flatbed cars told their own story. Dozens of armored vehicles built from old Soviet-era designs, refurbished in North Korea's military workshops, coated in fresh camouflage and reinforced for war. These were not museum pieces. They were machines destined for the front. The convoy's journey began at the Rason Special Economic Zone, in the far northeastern corner of North Korea. Under strict secrecy, the trains pushed westward through the Siberian wilderness, stopping only at hidden refueling points far from prying eyes. But secrecy meant little to those who were already watching. High above, Western satellites tracked their every movement with frightening clarity. On the ground, spies and informants infiltrated, sending coded reports through secure channels, logging every checkpoint passed, every delay endured, every small clue about the convoy's state and pace. By the time the steel tracks of the convoy ground across Russian soil, Ukraine knew more than just their location. They had mapped the route, identified vulnerabilities, and even predicted the exact hour the tanks would reach the front. This was no simple reconnaissance. This was a slow-motion hunt, and the prey had no idea it was already in the hunter's crosshairs. Preparation. The war unseen. Ukraine's response was not a burst of hasty action, but a carefully choreographed dance of strategy and patience. There was no rush, no reckless interception. Commanders decided the convoy would be allowed to cross the border, allowed to believe it had arrived undetected, and only when it was deep enough inside the chosen killing ground would the trap snap shut. For days, artillery batteries were quietly relocated into concealed positions, their barrels hidden beneath camouflage netting and natural terrain. Anti-tank teams were deployed to choke points and likely escape routes. In dark underground rooms, FPV drone operators memorized flight paths and rehearsed strike runs over and over until each maneuver became instinctive. Meanwhile, engineers laid minefields in carefully selected locations, not at random, but precisely where they would split the convoy into trapped, isolated segments once the attack began. Every soldier knew their role. Every coordinate was locked into fire control systems. Every finger on every trigger waited for the single word that would turn silence into a storm. The steel web was complete. All that remained was to wait for the prey to take one step too far. The strike. Hell at the border. At exactly 02:17 in the early morning, beneath a low-hanging mist, the lead tank of the North Korean convoy rolled past an invisible line, the border into Ukrainian territory. Its treads ground into the earth, headlights cutting through the fog. And then, the silence shattered. From hidden positions kilometers away, Ukrainian artillery roared to life. The first barrage of 155-meter shells slammed into the lead and rear tanks simultaneously, locking the entire column inside a cage of fire. Explosions lit up the night, followed by the shriek of tearing steel and the thunder of burning engines. From above, FPV drones dove like guided bullets, slipping into armor gaps, slamming into engines, igniting ammunition racks inside turrets. Along the roadside, anti-tank squads emerged from the darkness, firing javelins and NLAWs that punched through steel as if it were paper. Each detonation was deliberate, each target chosen without mercy. Every second part of a prearranged lethal choreography. The convoy's formation disintegrated instantly. Some tanks tried to surge forward, only to hit pre-laid mines that shredded their treads. Others reversed into the burning wrecks behind them, creating a steel blockade of fire and smoke. Over the radio came confusion, panic, and desperate broken orders. In less than 15 minutes, the convoy was gone, reduced to twisted metal and raging flames. Aftermath. A message to the world. When the last shell fell silent and the final drone returned to base, the battlefield lay still, save for the crackle of fire and the hiss of cooling steel. The highway was now a graveyard, dozens of tanks and vehicles lying in ruin, some still sending columns of black smoke into the pale morning sky. For Ukraine, this was more than a tactical victory. It was a statement broadcast across continents. To Moscow, no matter how far you reach for reinforcements, this land will swallow them whole. To Pyongyang, thousands of kilometers will not shield your armor from destruction. Sending them here is to sign their death warrant. To the watching world, in modern warfare, victory is not only about numbers or firepower, it is about knowing exactly when, where, and how to strike with such precision that the enemy never even has time to breathe. This was the night North Korea's armored might entered Ukraine and was destroyed in minutes. A journey that began in total secrecy ended in fire before the sun could rise. You've been watching Delta History, where we bring the hidden stories of the battlefield into the light, stripping away the fog of war to reveal the hard truths beneath. Until next time, remember this: in war, every step forward could be your last.